52-year-old therapist Tracy Lynn Ford is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old newspaper distributor John Normandin, for an unpaid loan to pay off his truck. John says he has no obligation to pay her back.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 103 on the calendar, the matter of Ford versus Normandin.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Ford, how long did you and the defendant live together?
Probably about 1.5 years to 2 years.
And it is your claim that sometime within that period of time, you accepted a loan from your mother. Well, he accepted a loan from your mother. The check was given physically to you, but the loan was for the purpose of him paying off his truck. Mm-hmm. And it was clearly understood between the three of you, the defendant, and your mother, that it was his responsibility to pay her back.
Yes.
You broke up. Mr. Normandin said, not my loan, it's her loan. It's her arrangement with her mother. I never made the arrangement to pay her back. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
So you bought a truck when, sir?
About 1 year before actually about 6 months before we got together. I bought the truck and was making payments on it with all my own funds. Was trying to save up to pay it off because of the high...
Slowly, I'm old.
Because of the high interest rate and the high insurance costs for full coverage on the vehicle, I need to get it paid off as quick as possible. So I was working 3 jobs, saving as much money as possible. I saved up about $11,000 of my own money to pay it off within a 4-month period of time. And I only needed another $1,000 or so to finish it off. And at that time, she agreed she would help me out with that.
Tell me the conversation when she agreed to help you out with that. Tell me, I want to hear the conversation.
I told Tracy that if I paid off the truck sooner, there'd be more money available for us to get other things for us both to use. And she said, after I told her that she would help me out by asking her parents to see if she could borrow some money to help me pay it off. There was never agreement for me to pay it back. It was all her own. I mean, we helped each other out. I mean, I got things for her, she got things for me. I figured this is her helping me out. That's as far as I took it. I didn't know it was a loan on my behalf.
Were you covering your own bills in addition to the truck stuff?
Yes, I was.
Was she working?
A little bit here and there. She had a full-time job, but she wasn't making that much money.
You said if I could get this paid off faster, I'd have more money for us and our bills. So she agreed to get a loan from her mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And you got the money?
With the agreement that if he didn't pay it back, that I was held responsible. But I didn't benefit from it.
When you made that agreement with your stepmother, was he present?
Yes.
Where were you all?
We were in our house, and he made me call my stepmother. I called her, asked for the money. Then she asked to speak to John. She spoke to John. The agreement was made between them that she would send the $1,000 and that he would pay her back either right away or in increments with the money that he was saving from not having insurance.
Now when was that check written?
March of 2003.
How much after that did the two of you break up?
We broke up about 3 months.
It was in November, Your Honor.
We broke up.
November of 2003?
Yes, that's correct.
Who was this person?
I didn't.
Who was this person?
This is my husband.
Okay. When were you married?
We got married January 15th.
When did you break up with Mr. Normandin?
I'm sorry, it was 2002. My mistake.
We broke up in June of the last June that we just had.
June of 2003?
Yes.
And the truck loan was March of 2003?
Yes.
So 3 months later?
Yes.
Okay. And when you left, you took the truck, sir?
Yes, I did.
Had things started to deteriorate between you and the plaintiff at that point?
They'd been deteriorating for a while before that, and the check her mother sent her was way before that. It was in 2002 she received that check because I tried...
Can I see the check, please?
Sure. That's the check.
Date of the check is March 11th, 2003, sir.
Then I must be mixing something up because
well, then you mixed up.
I moved out a year and a few months after we broke up. We had a lease together. It ended November of 2002. I lived with my father for a year and a few months. I have receipts for every month since then from him and a signed lease agreement from him.
I'm not interested in a lease from your father.
But she's saying that we lived together.
I'm not interested in a lease from your father. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see the paperwork when you paid off the truck.
I don't have that.
Why not? I'd be interested in seeing that, not a lease from your father.
It's been at least a year since I paid off that truck.
Listen to me carefully, sir. I'm not interested in a lease from your father. I would be interested to see when you paid the truck off.
I didn't believe I needed that.
Well, you were coming here about a truck, were you not?
I thought I was coming here about money that was borrowed.
You were coming here about the truck, correct?
It's not what I understood.
Why would you bring a lease instead of the payoff payments for the truck?
Because the
There's
payoff
no logical reason for that, sir.
The payoff had nothing to do with that loan.
There is no logical reason why you would bring a lease. This isn't about rent.
I understand that.
It's not logical that you would bring totally irrelevant paperwork instead of bringing paperwork that could be marginally related to this case. It just doesn't make sense. Now, what I want to see is the check that you indicate he gave your mother for $500. That I would like to see, and then stop payment on it.
I would love to give it to you, but he sent the check, and then he either went to Texas or California, I think it was Texas, to visit his brother, called me, told me to call my stepmother, tell her not to cash the check. So he didn't put a stop payment on it. He just told me to tell her not to cash it. She did not cash it. She can't find it, unfortunately, because
Well, don't tell me why she can't find it, because she's not here to tell me that.
Actually, she's in the back.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Could you bring her in, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't an I, it was a we.
Take out your wallet and give me the registration. Then we do a we. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't be a smarty with me. You're going to lose.
And later today,
Had anything happened prior to her going on vacation?
I found a girlfriend and we started dating.
This
prior
girlfriend
to...
right here?
Yes.
Is that your real hair? What?
My real hair, yeah, not the real color, no.
Even Bird knew that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tracy Lynn Ford says ex-boyfriend John Normandin owes for a loan to pay off his truck.
When did you send a check for $500?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Yeah, it was in May.
May of what year?
2002, I believe.
Let me see the check register.
Why would you pay
The
for
whole
it before she
Shh. Let me see the whole check register. What was the name of the company that you had a loan for the check?
I don't recall.
Think hard.
I can't remember. I've had a lot of loans since then.
I'm just talking about your truck loan, sir. You still have the truck?
Yes, I do.
Well, if you still have the truck and you wrote out a check for $11,000, one would think that you would remember.
It was over a year and a half ago. I've done a lot since then.
You sent her this $500, sir, after you had made all the payments that I see here for the truck.
The payoff wasn't a written check from me. It was the cashier's check from the...
I understand that. What I'm saying is you made payments for the truck, $500 payments for the truck to Chevrolet.
That was when I first bought it.
Listen carefully to me. After your last payment for the truck that is registered here, you sent her a check for $500.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what you're telling me is that was not in return of a loan.
It was a joint bank account between me and Tracy Lynn. When the bills were due, I wrote most of the checks.
Yes. Shh.
Sorry.
Just a minute.
So the money was both of ours together. Every penny I made, she had access to. Everything she made, I had access to.
Sorry.
I am correct that after you paid off the truck, which included her $1,000, you wrote out a check to her for $500.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened with that check?
Tracy called and said that John did not have money in the account to cover it, and if I could hold it for a short period of time.
So what did you do with the check?
We held it, and recently I looked for it.
Now, you have the truck, and she has the debt.
I assume so.
Why is that reasonable, sir?
Well, I owned every penny I paid on that truck was my money.
No.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. You had a specific discussion, and the specific discussion with this young lady was, I need another $1,000 to pay off the truck, so that I can stop working the 3 jobs and just put all the money into the truck, but we can start living more reasonably.
It wasn't an I, it was a we. We needed the money to pay off
Well, then
the
how
truck.
about I do this, sir? How about you take out your wallet, give me the registration for the truck, and I will have you sign the truck, half of it, over to the plaintiff. How about that? Would you like to do that? Take out your wallet and give me the registration. Take out your wallet and give me the registration. Then we do a we. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don't be a smarty with me. You're going to lose. We happens when 2 people are married. When 2 people aren't married, you don't have we. You have yours and you have hers. You got the truck, she's got the debt. There is something wrong with that. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
It's been hard because he refused to pay the money back when he knew he needed to.
We had an equal sharing relationship, and I guess it wasn't as equal as I thought it was.
It's put a lot of stress on me because I don't want to owe my stepmother money, and it was my thing to pay when he wouldn't pay it.
She needs money badly because she's pregnant and has no money.
I have plenty of money. We've got a nice house. I don't need his money.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Diva versus Hess. Step forward.
23-year-old animal caretaker Danielle Deaver is suing former roommate, 26-year-old skateboard rep Todd Hess for breaking a lease.
Ms. Deaver, the defendant was a roommate, friend of yours. You entered into a lease together to share an apartment, and it is your claim that he moved out without paying move-out fees, which ended up costing you a substantial amount of money, and you want him to pay for half of that. Mr. Hess says you threw him out of the apartment. He owes you nothing. When did you move in with Miss Deaver?
No, October or November.
Why?
She just moved back into Wisconsin from California, and I wasn't happy with the living arrangements that I was at. So we
And you
decided-
knew each other before?
Yes.
For how long?
About a month and a half.
You knew him for a month and a half before you took him in as a roommate?
Yes.
It's interesting. When did you move out, Mr. Hess?
December?
Why are you asking me? You said
I was
December? I don't know.
I believe December.
Is that when he moved out?
It was December.
December what?
The 28th.
Now tell me about December 28th. Under what circumstances did Mr. Hess move out?
I had just gotten back from vacation. We hadn't seen each other for just about a week. Came back, I don't know, started fighting, not sure.
What were you fighting about, Miss Deaver?
No, I don't recall.
Well,
bickering.
now, just a second. So you don't recall what you were fighting about. But Mr. Hess does. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Try to be a little more assertive.
All
What
right.
kind of work do you do?
I am a rep for skateboarding brands, companies.
A what?
Outside rep.
An outside rep. That means you're a salesman.
Yes.
Salesman. Ha ha! Got to be a little more forceful, Mr. Hess.
All right.
So you remember the 28th? Because you tell me you do. You remember what happened.
Yes, I remember.
So she came back from vacation. She was gone for about a week. Had anything happened prior to her going on vacation?
Well, I found a girlfriend, and we started dating.
This
prior
girlfriend
to-
right here?
Yes.
Girl with the blue hair. Is that your real hair? What?
My real hair, yeah, not the real color, no.
Even Bird knew that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's been nights where I was in bed sleeping, and she'd be trying to get in my room with a knife through the door handle. So on the 28th, when she told me in a drunken rage to leave, I just
What
thought,
exactly did she say?
she said, "Get out, I want you out of here."
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Deaver says former roommate Todd Hess broke their apartment lease. Todd says Danielle is abusive.
Okay, so you found a girlfriend before she went away on vacation. That's something had changed. And what happened when she came back from vacation on the 28th of December?
She went out with some friends, went to a bar, I assume, drank,
Could you move it forward a little
got
bit?
drunk, came home screaming at me about everything, about
Well,
the
tell me
living
what she was
situation.
saying to you, Mr. Hess.
Well, she liked me more than I wasn't, I guess, it wasn't the smartest thing to do is to move in with someone when you know, there was attraction. And in early December, you know, I put an end to us hanging out. So it got kind of uncomfortable to live with each other.
Now, good. Now I got the background. You moved in together. She may have had intentions that were different from yours. You're there for a little while. You find a girlfriend, and you are drawn to her instantly. That blue hair was dazzling.
Yes.
She goes away on vacation. She comes home, goes out with some friends, comes back, and she's angry about the girlfriend.
Yeah, but this isn't the first time that her anger has, you know, made living arrangements unbearable. There's been nights where I was in bed sleeping, and she'd be trying to get in my room with a knife through the door handle, screaming, banging on my door in front of her friends, in front of my friends. So on the 28th, when she told me in a drunken rage to leave, she wanted me to move out, I just thought...
What exactly did she say?
She said, "Get out, I want you out of here. Leave, just grab your stuff and leave."
Perfect, and that's what you wanted. And that's what you did.
That's what I did. I had no place to go.
That's what he says happened, Miss Deaver. He said you came home, you were a little bit high, you got into a battle, you don't remember what it was about, so I have to believe him.
Well, that's what he says, but how could I have paid the rent on the 28th to the manager before 5 o'clock, or just after 5 o'clock when he got home from work, if this happened the 28th at night? He didn't even remember when he moved out. I had written the rent check on the 28th for my half to secure that I would stay there when he told me the 27th he was moving out.
What I'm saying is, he says you told him to leave.
That's not true.
Well, but you say you don't remember.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, sure you did.
You said I did.
No. You didn't remember sufficiently to testify. I said, what was the fight about? You said, I don't know. I said, well, he knows. So if you don't know what the fight was about, and he says, I know what the fight was about Miss Lovely, and she told me to get out, then I have to believe him.
Which is not true, because we actually were on a fight, and he said, can you leave me alone? I'm on the phone with my girlfriend. And I said, I didn't even know you had a girlfriend. So this was in the midst of our fight that all of a sudden he was talking on the phone. So the whole girlfriend thing didn't even come up till after we were already arguing.
What were you arguing with him about?
Roommate things, I don't know. I had just gotten home from
Are you
vacation.
still in the apartment?
No. I have the 5-day notice to pay or leave. I had paid my half for the January rent on the 28th, which supposedly the day the fight was, which wasn't true. But I had paid the 28th for my half of
January's rent.
Yes.
So I have to determine whether or not he is required to pay any other rent when the situation in the apartment escalated to the point of, it didn't involve physical violence yet, but it quite well might have had it escalated any further. Somebody was going to call the police if he was screaming and yelling at him or at each other, and I believe him because I have nothing to the contrary. You don't remember what the fight was about, and he says you told him to get out. Sounds right. And if you told him to get out on the 28th, and he did, then he's not responsible for January's rent. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused when they step out.
29-year-old customer service rep Jason Selby is suing his ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old receptionist Anne Marie Burke, for having him falsely arrested for domestic violence twice. Anne Marie says she stands by her charges.
Yes, this is case number 10 on the calendar in the matter of Selby versus Burke. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Selby, the defendant is your former girlfriend. You have a child together, and it is your claim that she filed 2 cases against you for domestic violence, both of which were false. One she dropped, the next one she pursued. You were found not guilty, and you are suing her for those false charges. Ms. Burke says that you did, in fact, put your hands on her in a violent manner on both of those occasions, which is why she called the police.
Yeah.
How old is your child?
He's almost 2.
Do you have an order declaring you to be the father of this child?
No.
Why not?
My name's not on the birth certificate because she was married when my son was born, and I'm not legally considered the father.
He is. He went to court and said that he was the father when in my divorce.
Okay. Well, he may have gone to say he was the father in your divorce, but has there been an adjudication of paternity in any court?
No, ma'am.
Oh, you are, sir. Listen to me very carefully. I have a surprise for you. You're going to be very happy to hear this. It says, the third-party defendant, that was you, Jason Selby, that is your name, is it not?
Correct.
Is hereby established as the biological father of the minor child, Brendan Selby.
Okay.
We're going to get you a copy of this, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
You are the father. You have certain rights and certain responsibilities, Mr. Selby. It's interesting when I read your case, when I read your complaint, the defendant is now living in another area, so you haven't been seeing your son. How old was your son when you two separated?
It was about 1.5 years.
Okay. Now, Ms. Burke, I'm coming to you. When was the first instance of domestic violence which was the subject of a restraining order that you placed upon Mr. Selby?
September.
Okay, and tell me what happened in September of 2004.
He came.
Who was this, by the way?
This is the guy that used to live up front, our neighbor, Robert Menu.
And what is he now?
A witness to both incidents.
Okay, this is not the boyfriend that he talks about, is that right?
It's not the boyfriend. He's never been my boyfriend.
But he came with you to court?
Right.
And you live in Florida?
Right.
And he flew with you from Florida?
Right.
Did you
Yes.
stay together last night in the same place?
They wouldn't give us 2 separate hotel rooms.
I'm just asking you a question.
Yes.
Okay. I never stayed in the same hotel room with a neighbor when I traveled.
I asked, and they said that there was going to be at least 2 separate beds, because I asked her about that, about getting 2 separate hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm. You think I believe you? I don't. Let's move on. September 2004.
He came to the house, and we were arguing about Brendan, our son. I went into the room, and I was packing my stuff and putting it in a bag.
Just a second. So this was a place that you lived together?
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't come to your house?
He moved out. He had moved out when...
When had he moved out?
Maybe 2 days before that, because he had found a letter, and he went through my stuff. And
A letter from whom?
Me. It was stuff that I wrote about my feelings, about him and the way he treated me.
Okay.
And...
So he moved out?
He packed his stuff, yes, and left and went to his aunt's house, I believe.
Keep going.
And he pushed me back because I went to try to go around him in the bedroom to leave, and I told him to leave me alone and to let me go.
Well, what did he do?
He kept pushing me back.
That's not what you said in here. You said he pushed you once.
He kept trying to stop me from going.
Don't make things up as we're going along, Miss Burke. You said in your answer that he pushed you one time, not kept pushing you. Now, which one was it? Did he push you one time, as you swore to in your complaint, or did he push you multiple times, as you just told me?
He did push me one time, but he kept, like, holding, like, where I couldn't get around him. He would move over to the side to where I couldn't get around him. When I did get a...
Blocking, not pushing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Before I had gotten to the car is when he had shoved me from behind. We fell into the car. He wouldn't let me get into the car, and that's when Robert had called the police.
You have a police report?
Not with me, no.
Do you?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. All right, Mr. Selby, you want to tell me what happened on September 9th, please?
Can I start from September 8th?
If it's absolutely necessary. If it's not necessary, it's just going to irritate me.
September 8th, I was at work with her son Tyler because there were hurricanes, the schools were closed. When she came to pick me up from work, she brought Robert with her to pick me up from work. We went home.
On September 8th?
Correct. She left with Robert for approximately 2 hours. I knew she wrote that 19-page letter, so I went looking for it, and it confirmed they were together. She has since got her hands on it and destroyed it. There were police called that night because...
Why?
He threatened me that he was going to beat me up. Then he called the police because I was on his property, which it was like 2 places on 1 piece of land. The police came out and they escorted her off the property with the kids. September 9th, I found out she was packing not her stuff, but everything, my stuff, which I still don't have today. I never went into the bedroom where they said I pushed her. I was never in there. I was in the living room the whole time. I went to leave, get into my aunt and uncle's car. She ran to the car. I raced her to the car. I beat her to the car. No one fell. There were no tripping.
Why was she running to the car?
To take it.
Go ahead.
When I got in the car, Robert ran over on the phone, said he witnessed me hit her. I did it, I did it. I asked to speak to the cop. He wouldn't let me get on the phone.
Okay. Why did you drop that case?
Because Jason, we were going to try to reconcile and get back together, and he had told me that he was going to go to counseling, which I believe he did in fact go in January.
Counseling for what?
For being abusive mentally and physically, because September was not the first time that he has actually been in trouble for hitting me.
So you dropped those charges in September.
Right.
And when was the next time you filed an application for a restraining order?
February 3rd.
What was that about?
I got a call from my babysitter that I needed to call H&R Block, so I called them, and they said that my income tax had been denied because my children's Social Security numbers had come back that they were already claimed.
Did you claim both boys?
No, just Brendan.
Just
I got
Brendan.
it right here.
Okay.
It was my understanding that he claimed both the children.
So you were mistaken.
Right.
So, what did you do?
So I called him, and I told him that I was going to come over, and I went over to his house.
With whom?
With Robert.
Big mistake.
Right.
Big.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Don't make things up as you're going along. I can tell I have a truth meter back here. When somebody has given me the business, my left eye starts to twitch.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Selby says, on 2 occasions, ex-girlfriend Anne Marie Burke had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
So here's what we have, Ms. Burke. We have your husband, who, according to the police report back in September, was of the belief that you were having an affair with Robert.
Right.
That's all over the police report. Whether you were or whether you weren't, I don't have to get into now. That's not my business. Quite frankly, I don't care. The fact that you shared a room together last night is some indication to me that you're more than just friendly neighbors. However, you knew that he was harboring that belief, so to bring Robert to his house was a large mistake.
Well, the only reason why I brought Robert was because he's the only one that I had as far as a male figure, because I am afraid of Jason.
Then you shouldn't have gone to his house. What do you think you were going to accomplish going to his house as opposed to asking him on the telephone what happened?
I couldn't ask him on the telephone because his phone was breaking up. There was...
Put your hand down. This was an emergency situation that you had to go over with him that day?
I was upset.
You were
I
angry?
wanted to talk to him.
Just a minute. You were angry.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you were angry and you called Robert to go over with you.
Right.
What happened when you got there?
I went up the stairs.
And where was Robert?
Sitting in the car.
Go ahead.
And I was going up the stairs and I asked him, you know, why did he do that? I said, you know, I'm trying to get money to get...
What do you mean, sir? Going up the stairs, I didn't hear him at the door. I didn't hear...
Oh, he was outside. When we pulled up, he was standing outside smoking, and we could see him, the way his house is, there's stairs that go up this way, and you got to go around the
So you're going
ledge.
up the stairs, and as you're going up the stairs, what are you saying to him?
I asked him why he was, you know, why did he claim the kids?
That doesn't sound right to me, madam. You were asking him in the same kind of voice you were asking me?
No, I was angry. I mean, I wasn't yelling and screaming, but I was talking a lot louder than what I am now.
I assumed you were. Go
Yes.
ahead.
And I told him, I said, you know, that's not right that you claim Tyler. It's not right that, you know, I said, you haven't paid child support. You haven't come to see your kid. And I said, you know, you can at least let me claim the kids. You know, I'm trying to make it on my own.
That's not, you weren't having this whole discussion as you're walking upstairs, madam. That doesn't sound logical. If it doesn't sound logical, it's not true.
By the time I was steadily talking.
I know what you're thinking, but that's not what you were saying to him as you were walking upstairs furious because you had just gotten the call from H&R Block, and the first person you called was Robert. How tall are you, Robert?
6 foot.
Yeah. Called Robert to come over with you. Okay. So you're walking up the stairs screaming. Go ahead.
I get around the corner, and we start talking, arguing. I told him that he's not a good father. We started arguing about that, about him not being a good dad and him not coming to see Brendan. I did tell him that he was, and he asked me, you know, because I had called the IRS and found out that he can't legally claim Tyler, and that's what I told him he was for. And
no, you just said you was, because I called the IRS.
Right.
You didn't go through this whole explanation. No. You just said, listen to me. Don't make things up as you're going along. I can tell I have a truth meter back here. When somebody has given me the business, my left eye starts to twitch. You got it? So you told him because you called the IRS.
Right.
Okay. And what happened next, Miss Burke?
I again told him that he was a bad father, and that's when he had smacked me in my eye. And he went in the house. I went running down the steps and got in the car, and I left.
Can I see the police report, please? Yes. Incident number 2. Did you seek medical treatment?
No.
Can I clarify that day? First, on January 24th, I called her because she told me she moved to South Florida and she was living with her brother in South Florida. Up until February 3rd, that's where I thought she was living. She told me if I tried to call down there to be in my son's life, she was going to get me in trouble for harassment. So I called the police to verify that. They said she could say whatever she wants, but it would be
Can we get to, please, to February 3rd?
February 3rd, I spoke to a family lawyer and the county courthouse. I couldn't file anything because I didn't know her address. That night, I got home from work. I was playing PlayStation, got a phone call on my cell phone, answered it, and there was low signal, and it didn't come in. She called back about 2 minutes later. She said, "Good, you're home, I'm coming over," and hung up on me. She pulled up. I was standing on the balcony. She got out of the car, and her first words were, "You're an effing thief."
Go ahead.
So I went right in the house. I shut the screen door, and we were separated the whole time by a screen door. Robert, I didn't know he was there until I got the copy of the police report. I never once saw him there. I called the police the minute she said, "You're," and she left. Called the police, explained that she falsified a report once before. I don't want to be in trouble. They assured me I wouldn't be in trouble. Police officer showed up at my door, told me that I was accused of hitting her, and I basically ended up going to jail.
How long?
For overnight.
What I don't understand, Miss Burke, is this. You testified a moment ago that you were afraid of this man, that he had been abusive to you. So I don't understand why you went over to his house.
Because I didn't think that having somebody with me that he would do anything. I didn't think that he would do that.
The person that you brought with you was sitting, according to you, in the car.
Right.
And the first words out of your mouth were what?
I told him he was a thief. I didn't...
No. You told him he was a blank thief.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that. I told him he was a thief.
Okay. So the first thing that you said to him was, "You're a thief," as you were walking up the stairs.
Yes.
You were angry, agitated. Did you think that that was going to provoke him? Especially since you were wrong.
You're right.
And you think that if you hadn't gone over there to this person that you were really afraid of, that all this would have happened?
I didn't honestly think that he would do something with somebody there, because when we did pull up, he was leaning, you know, smoking a cigarette out over the...
Well, what did you intend to accomplish, Miss Burke? He had already claimed your son. You thought 2 sons. But he had already claimed your son on his tax returns. That was done.
I thought that he would help.
You thought that he would help, and your first statement to him was, "You're a thief"? That's the way you wanted to start this exchange, this friendly exchange? Now, Mr. Selby, have you ever exercised poor judgment with regard to Miss Burke?
Yeah, meeting her, unfortunately.
Well, I'm not talking about just meeting her. I'm talking about other things. Have you ever exercised poor judgment?
Yes.
And have you ever exercised poor judgment when the police weren't called?
Probably.
The primary thrust of your complaint here is that you were embarrassed.
For the defamation of character.
Right. I can understand that that happened. And I think that you deserve to be compensated for that, because I don't believe that you hit her.
Thank you.
And clearly neither did a court. If you ever want to have a relationship with this child, it's your responsibility to go into court immediately and seek an order of visitation and be prepared to enter into an order of support for your son She didn't move out of state, but she moved away from where the two of you were living. Certainly, you wouldn't like it if he took the child, would you?
I actually set up dates for him to come see his son.
How far away did you move?
Like 10 minutes. I only live like 10 minutes away from him, and my phone number's
then what are you
never changed.
complaining about, Mr. Selby?
To this day, I don't know where she lives.
He's always known where I lived, and he knows my phone number. It's never changed.
Easy. If you say he knows where you live, where do you live?
My new address is 216 Street.
When did you move there?
Probably like a month ago.
Did you give him that address?
No.
So he doesn't have that address?
He has my phone number.
Listen to me, Miss Burke. I speak English. It's my primary language. You say he's always known my address. He's always known where I lived.
From the time that he has been trying to visit his son, he has always known the house that I have stayed in.
You said that you moved.
I moved.
I don't understand. Stayed in, lived. You know, you're being slick with me. Don't be slick with me.
I'm not trying to be slick. I'm
Mr.
nervous,
Selby,
and he's had the
you
opportunity.
Go to court, establish an order of visitation. That's what you have to do. She didn't move 100 miles away. According to her, she lives no more than 10 or 15 minutes away from where you live. Is that what you're swearing to today, madam?
Yes.
Well, that's what you have to do.
In order, I tried, but I don't have a physical address where she is.
Well, now she just gave it to you.
Right. And in the beginning, she moved right in with Robert. So I wasn't
there's
gonna
no
go
question
visit.
about that. She identifies Robert, and Robert identifies himself as her live-in roommate.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough for me.
Just a second. Very live-in. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old student Amber Hunting is suing fellow student, 21-year-old Daniel Rodriguez, for damaging two of her vehicles by kicking them. Daniel says Amber and her friends cheated on a poker hand.
Now, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Hunting versus Rodriguez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Hunting, according to what I read, there was a poker game that was going on in your home?
Correct.
And the defendant was one of the participants in the game. There was some sort of a disagreement as to who had the winning hand. Defendant lost, and you claimed that in a tiff, when he left, he damaged your car. He says he didn't do it. How do you know him?
He is just a friend of a friend, and he was invited to my house by our mutual friend.
Do you have a regular poker game that goes on in your house?
No, it was just for fun.
How many people were there?
6.
Men or women?
There were 2 women and 4 men.
How many of the men did you know?
3 of them.
He was the only one you didn't know?
Correct.
What about the other woman?
She's my witness, Tristan.
So tell me what happened.
Well, it was August 27th, 2004, and we just had a gathering at my house of friends, and he came with our friend Robert, and I had no reservations about it. I was okay with that. And I think he had been drinking before he came over, but I still wasn't really concerned. He decided to participate in our game, and it had gone on for a good couple hours with no problems. We were all just hanging out having fun, no problems at all. And then when he had thought he won a hand and there was some questions about it, he kind of got defensive and aggressive when we tried to tell him otherwise. And he got angry at us, and he started calling names and pushing people and getting up and getting violent.
So what happened next?
Well, we tried to break it up. He tried to fight my boyfriend. He was calling names. He picked up a bike and actually threw it across the deck and bruised my friend's arm. I have a picture.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why would she make up such a story?
I don't know. I can't
Did
really
you lose a hand in
speculate.
poker?
No, ma'am. I still remember the hand.
Well, was there some sort of a dispute as to whether you won?
Yes, ma'am.
So you won the game,
Yes, ma'am.
and then they told you you lost the game and couldn't take the money.
Actually, her boyfriend had agreed that I won, and then she jumped in the middle, tried to read his card, said, "No, you won, look at your hand." He looked, and then he agreed, tried to take the money. But he already called the wrong hand. He called a hand lower than mine. I started taking the money down. He kept trying to argue with me. She kept jumping in the middle. I admit I did call her, but it wasn't really directed towards her. It was like, I don't want to hear what any have to say when 2 men are playing a game. It's our money, it's our game. No one else is in the game.
The women weren't playing?
No, they already lost.
Sorry.
They already lost all their money, so there's only 3
But the
people
women
left.
had been playing,
Yes, ma'am.
and you did play with the women.
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't as if you don't want to play with women, that it wasn't just a man's game.
No. We were all playing. They lost. There were 3 of us left.
And nothing happened with the bicycle?
No, there was a bike in the way, but I was getting pulled out of their house, and I bumped into a bike. I never picked a bike up, threw it, or anything like that.
Okay, then according to you, Miss Hunting, Mr. Rodriguez damaged your car when he left. How did he damage your car?
He damaged 2 vehicles. He was inside, and it took a good 15 minutes to get him calmed down. We were trying to calm him down. He wouldn't calm down, so he was physically removed from my house.
How was he physically removed?
By our friend Robert.
Is that right?
Yeah, he escorted me out of the house.
He pulled you out?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to leave?
No, her boyfriend had tried to start a fight with me, so I stood up. We were going to fight, and he didn't want to fight, and then her mom came in, said we're going to call the police, told her to call the police, you know. They're trying to rob me of my money.
So you still felt as if you were owed that money
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
pot? So you didn't want to leave without your money?
No, ma'am.
So you were pulled out by Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you were pulled out, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, he pulled me out, but right before the door closed, I said, look, you know, I'll leave, but I want my money, at least the money I put into the pot in the beginning. They went and got my money. He gave it to me. He walked to his car and got in and left.
Who walked to the car?
Me and Robert.
Robert was the one who had brought you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still a friend of yours?
Yeah.
You see him?
Yeah. He lives on the same street, so, yeah, we see
Good.
each other.
And you claim that he damaged cars when he left. You have any witness? Did you see him do that?
I actually have Robert here as a witness.
Really? Bring him in. And Robert is your friend?
Yes, ma'am.
So Robert wouldn't lie for her?
I can't speak on that. He's intimate with her friends, so a lot of people do a lot of things when they're with somebody.
I don't think that's important.
Swear the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Robert Silva.
Mr. Silva, Mr. Rodriguez says that you're a friend of his. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you known him?
About 15, 16 years.
You invited him to a party on the 27th of August at Miss Hunting's home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were playing poker?
Yes.
And there was some sort of a dispute over a winning hand. We're getting past that. Did you see an incident involving Mr. Rodriguez and a bicycle?
No.
Didn't see him pick up or toss a bicycle?
No.
Did you remove him from the house?
We walked out together.
You didn't pull him out of the house?
Pull, no. I was just, he wasn't done talking, and I think we were done talking, so I said it was time to go.
Now, when he left the house, can you describe what happened, sir?
I told him to leave, and I went to go close the door.
Look at me when you're talking.
And on the way out, I seen him kick Amber's car on the way out.
How many cars did you see him kick?
I only seen him kick Amber's car.
Did you say anything to him when you finally caught up to him?
No.
You didn't say, why did you kick Amber's car?
It's too late. It doesn't matter why. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, no. That's their witness. They say
That's their witness, sir, but
say
you're
I
a friend
kicked-
for 17 years.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it just seems fugazi to me because...
What?
It seems a little funny to me because they said I threw a bicycle. He didn't see it.
No,
They
he
say
didn't see that.
I kicked 2 cars, and he only seen me kick 1. I don't know. The story seems wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair. Not that it's really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking.
And later today,
Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Hunting says acquaintance Daniel Rodriguez vandalized 2 of her cars after an argument over a poker game. Amber has produced a surprise eyewitness.
Did you call the police immediately?
As soon as I saw the damage to the vehicles, I went inside.
Was
and
that
called
the same
police.
day, the 27th of August?
Yes.
Can I see the police report, please? How old are you, Miss Hunting?
21.
You live at home with your folks?
With my mother.
And this is your mom?
Yes.
Who, if I called her as a witness, would testify about a lot of bad language that she heard, and she said she was going to call the police, correct?
Correct.
You have photographs of the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, the detective who responded saw the following, Mr. Rodriguez. He saw the damage to the cars. The issue is really, was this old damage, new damage? But let me tell you what the police officer wrote. Second vehicle, 1997 Ford Escort, belonged to Amber's mother, Doreen Hunting. I noticed a circular dent near the driver's side door and chipped paint around the dent. I located several pieces of the chipped paint on the ground, directly below the dent on the door. So you know what that suggests to me, Mr. Rodriguez?
New damage.
Very smart. Now, who do you think had a motive to be angry that night?
I did.
And whose dear friend who invited them to this party says it was you who caused the damage?
Mine.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you were sitting in my place, would you think that I caused the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair.
But
Not
I'd
that it's really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking. What are the estimates to fix these two dents?
$1,893.
Together?
Yes.
That's a bargain. So not only didn't you win, sir, at poker that night, but your temper is going to cost you $1,893. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was drunkenness, and nobody was really listening to each other, and emotions run high when drinking is involved.
There were a bunch of people playing a game of poker who were too drunk to know how to really play.
It wasn't that big of a deal till my vehicles were damaged.
They were talking, they wanted to call the police, wanted to fight.
He was my friend's friend. I didn't think it was necessary. I had hoped that he would calm down.
I told him to call the police. I thought it was a good idea.
I just wanted to handle it right and take care of it, but he denied it.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's no big deal, you know. I've known him 15 years. It's just one night.
Thank you for showing up and taking care of everything, and I'm glad everything's over with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kerr versus Guthrie. Step forward, please.
26-year-old account manager Lisa Kerr is suing her ex-boyfriend, Private Eye Gary Guthrie, for a loan to buy a spy cell phone. Gary says the spy equipment was a gift.
Ms. Kerr, who is this?
This is my witness, my friend Lindsay.
Mr. Guthrie, who is this?
This is my brother Adam in witness.
This is the situation as I understand it. You and Mr. Guthrie dated briefly. Was it a time he was separated from your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And for some strange reason, according to you, Mr. Guthrie, who needed some spy equipment, that's your business, you're in security, surveillance, and you agreed to put it on your credit card, this piece of equipment that he saw that he liked. And you did. According to you, he said he was going to pay for it. The piece of equipment came, you and Mr. Guthrie no longer an item. Mr. Guthrie says that the spy equipment doesn't work.
Correct.
So he's not paying for it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Well
is not an answer, Mr. Guthrie.
Well,
if it worked, listen to me very carefully, sir. If it worked, were you going to pay for it? Just a second. The questions get harder. What's your first name?
Gary.
Gary? Listen to me, Gary. Try not to play with me, sir, otherwise you're going to look like an idiot. If it worked, were you going to pay for it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That wasn't hard, was it, Gary?
No.
Did you actually think you were going to come here and make a fool out of me?
No.
So it didn't work. And you told the plaintiff it didn't work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the company said, send it back to us, and while you're not going to get your money back, you can buy additional merchandise.
Or switch it out for another one that might work if it
Or
came.
switch it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understood that, right, Gary?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how mellow Gary is getting now? Gary gets it now. Because in Gary's answer, he thought he was being a wise guy, and he told me first it was a gift from her, that she bought him a gift. And then she changed her mind because she went back to her husband and they got this big bill, and that's why she's probably coming after him. That didn't ring true to me. So that's why I asked Gary if he was intending to pay her back for it if it worked. You understand, Gary? Then you bring along genius with you over here. Because the idea was, according to you, and you agree, that you were told to pack up the old equipment and send it back to the company. And you brought her over the box.
No, I didn't actually bring the box.
How did she get the box?
Through my brother.
He brought her the box?
Yes.
And she paid for sending it back?
That's correct.
Not you. She paid for sending it back. Now, genius, you can stand up.
Lisa Kerr says ex-boyfriend Gary Guthrie owes for a loan to buy a spy phone. Gary claims the phone was broken and he tried to return it.
You got a first name?
Adam.
You didn't pack up the spy equipment, did you, Adam?
I was told...
Is not an answer.
I did pack up the equipment.
You did?
But I grabbed the wrong device, apparently.
What does that mean, genius?
When I gave it to Lisa and she'd shipped it off, they could tell her it was the wrong device. But I did not know because my brother was out of town. It was a phone call that told me to pack up the device.
What did you tell your brother to do?
I told him to grab my cell phone and pack it up to get to her.
Your cell phone? Well, that's not a spy piece of equipment that costs $3,400.
Well, if you've seen my other cell phones, you'd understand that I have a lot of cell phones, and all my cell phones are pretty high-tech.
I somehow think, Adam, that this was a little scammy-whammy that was going on here, kids. You sent back the wrong thing. Did you send back the wrong thing?
Yes, by accident.
Ultimately, you found the device, and it had not been sent back, right?
Correct.
When you found the device that had not been sent back, what was the first thing you did?
Well, I told her I obviously must...
So the first thing you did was call her?
I tried to attempt to. I wasn't able to get in touch with her.
So you did call her?
Yes, once I found out it was the wrong device.
Well, then I want to know, what date did you find out it was the wrong device?
Mid-December, somewhere in the middle of December.
And when did you find out that they didn't receive the device?
It was right around December the 18th or 20th.
And when did Mr. Guthrie call you?
I actually never spoke with him about that until I had left to go on Christmas vacation, and I ended up breaking my leg. So I was out of commission for a few months, and I finally got a hold of him again in March.
So between December, when he found out that he did not give you the right piece of equipment, and March, are you telling me he never called you?
Not that I spoke with him, and not a message that I got from him, no.
So he never called?
No, ma'am.
As far as you know, he never called?
Right.
What did you do with the piece of equipment, Gary?
Well, come mid-April, we were fishing, and I was trying to get the device to work, which is the whole issue, how it didn't work. And out of frustration, it actually ended up in the lake.
So, Gary, who do you think ought to pay for this piece of equipment?
Well, my assumption, seeing that she didn't call me back for that period of time...
Didn't call you back? Did you send her a letter?
I didn't send a certified letter, Your Honor, no.
Did you send her back the piece of equipment and say, I'm sorry, my idiot brother made a mistake? The answer is no. The answer is you took the piece of equipment and you threw it in the lake. It's according to you. I don't know whether I believe you or not, but that's according to you. When did you throw it in the lake, Gary?
Let's see, April, mid-April.
So you could have done a lot of things. The first thing that you could have done was try her once on the phone, if I believed that. You couldn't get her in. So you packed the piece of equipment up and say, I'm sorry, this was a big mistake. That's in December. I'm going to bear the burden of sending it back to the company. I don't want you to send it back for another $70 because my brother doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback, right? You chose not to do that, Gary. Were you annoyed that she went back to her husband? Huh?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then if you weren't annoyed that she went back to her husband, why don't you do the right thing?
Yes, you say lack of communication.
Lack of character is more like it. How much was it?
The original purchase was $3,035. The other items that he chose to replace it came to an additional $223. They wouldn't send me a return authorization.
Just a second, you mean you bought other stuff, Gary? Gary! Did you buy other stuff? You bought another $223 worth of stuff?
I was trying to exchange, yes.
You were trying to exchange it for the wrong piece of equipment that your brother sent back.
Something that actually worked.
Just a second. You bought some other stuff despite the fact that your brother sent back a bad cell phone instead of this piece of spy equipment.
I wasn't aware that he'd done that, Your Honor.
Well, did you send back the other stuff that you purchased for $223?
I never received it.
We never received it because we had to give them the list of the items that we wanted in replace of it. After we gave them that list, they gave us the return authorization. Once they received the phone, they were going to send the items. Well, they never received the phone.
So they never sent the items. Why, then you shouldn't be charged for them.
But I have the email where it says we have to charge your card prior to even giving you the return authorization.
Then you have to call them and say you never sent those items. Do you understand? I'm not charging him for those. That you take up with the company. They never sent you the merchandise. They can't charge you.
I have done that. It's a company in Thailand. It's really the only way I can communicate with them is through email.
Well, then I would suggest that you be smarter next time and not deal with a company in Thailand and not deal with Gary.
Understood.
And his brother. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,035. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
24-year-old copyright analyst Lydia Velasquez is suing her former friend, 22-year-old car salesman Shannon Sieber, for his share of a trip to Spain. Shannon claims Lydia offered to pay.
This is case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Velasquez versus Sieber. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Ms. Velasquez, Mr. Sieber was a friend of yours, and you claim that he owes you for some expenses from a trip to Spain that you took with him.
That's correct.
Or that he took with you. Mr. Sieber says there was never any agreement to pay you back any of the money you expended on his behalf, while acknowledging that you did spend money on him for plane tickets and some hotel expenses. Is that right, Mr. Sieber?
That's correct.
Okay. So let me turn to you first. I'd like you to tell me something about yourself.
Okay. I'm from Manassas, Virginia. I met Lydia in New York.
I didn't ask you where you met her. I asked you something about yourself.
Something about myself.
Yeah. First, why don't you tell me how old you are?
I'm 22 years old.
And what do you do for a living?
I sell cars.
And how long have you been selling cars?
For about 8 months now.
Is that what you want to be, a car salesman when you grow up?
No, but it pays well.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Own my own business.
What kind of business?
Maybe a daycare.
A daycare?
Yeah.
You like children?
Love children.
Why do you think that you have what it takes to guide young children into maturity? Stand up straight. First, the first thing you have to know is that you don't have to lean on anything.
Yes.
A table, a woman, anything. So what I want you to tell me, Mr. Sieber, is since your life's ambition is to own a daycare.
Yeah.
Yes, try yes.
Yes.
That's the first thing you have to do with children, teach them how to speak. And since that is probably one of the most laudable professions to guide children, I want you to explain to me what personality traits you believe you have that would qualify you to guide the future of America. I want you to think about that, Mr. Fastmouth, before you answer my question. Because I want you to think of what it is. Because as you see from this little repartee that we're having between us, I can swallow you up alive. We understand each other?
Oh, we understand each other.
Very good. So I want you to think very carefully, Smarty Mouth, why you believe that you can, with your talents and what those talents and moral qualities that you have are, to guide the children who are the future of America.
Because I'm consistent and committed.
Committed to what?
Committed to be able to learn whatever I have to learn to be able to teach children.
Okay. Now let's talk about your moral qualifications. You sell cars?
Yes.
Did you ever exaggerate to somebody when you sold them a car?
No.
Never?
No.
So when you're negotiating with somebody, you're always right up front. When you say, listen, my manager won't let me take a penny less than for this car, and I'm going to give up most of my commissions so that you can have this car, because I want you to have this car.
Of course.
That's totally honest.
Oh, yeah.
Never said anything that wasn't true.
No, ma'am.
Okay. I want you to do this for me, Mr. Sieber. When you open up your daycare center,
yes, ma'am.
Let me know where it is.
Okay.
When did you take this trip with Miss Velasquez?
We took it March 31st.
And how long did you go for?
6 days.
Who went, Mr. Sieber?
Myself and Lydia.
Just the two of you?
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume, Miss Velasquez, from reading your papers, that you had a little bit of a crush on him.
I did.
Now, what makes you think, Mr. Sieber, that even though Miss Velasquez had a crush on you, she was going to pay for your tickets?
Well, when I got the call early in February, and she asked me to take the trip with her, I told her that I would take the trip, and she said that she would cover the flight expense if I would go with her. When we got over there, the first night that we were there, advances were made, and I told her I wasn't looking for anything further. And after that happened, we got back to Northern Virginia, I started getting calls. She wanted money. So, because the advances were denied, she decided she wanted payment.
Why did you go with her, Mr. Sieber?
Because I liked her as a friend.
Did you tell her that?
Yes.
Oh, tell me what you said to her.
Exactly that.
Let me hear.
I like you as a friend.
When did you tell her that?
Many times in New York when I was with her, over the phone.
When she called and asked you to go to Europe with her, did she say why she wanted you to go to Europe with her?
No.
All right, now I'll hear you, Miss Velasquez.
Thank you.
When did you call him?
I didn't call him, actually. He had called me. We initially met, and we went on a really nice romantic first date. We kept in touch. My sister got sick. He was calling to ask me about her. And through the course of the conversation, towards the end of the conversation, I had told him about a trip that I was planning for myself. I thought planning a trip for myself and going to Spain was really what I wanted to do. Then Shannon had called me. He's very charming on the phone, and he expressed his interest in coming with me.
No, just not expressing it. What did he say, if you remember?
He said, would you mind if I came with you? And I said, yeah, no, that's great. I was excited about the fact that he wanted to go with me on a trip.
Now let's get to the tickets.
Sure. He had said if you can find a ticket for around $400, that he'd go ahead and, you know, pay me for that. So the next day, I did a vigorous search. I'm pretty good at the internet, and I found tickets. I had called him up, and I told him how much the ticket was going to be. It was around $444. And he had said, you know, that's fine. And I said, well, I already put the hotels, so you can just pay me half for the hotels. We can split that, and then just pay me back for the flight. And he said that he would pay me back the full amount. When we got to Spain, he paid me $300 in cash. And he...
Oh, Mr. Sieber, how come you gave her $300 in cash, sir?
Oh, that was for the hotel.
You gave her $300 and said...
And he said, on April 18th, I will send you the remaining balance. So I had thought that he was going to pay me once he got back home. We had a good time. I realized, though, when we got there, his attitude towards me changed. Before that, the phone conversations were great. He was saying, you know, oh, you're so cute, and I'm listening to your CD right now because I sing or whatnot, and you're making me smile and all this charming baloney. And I fell for it. I fell for it like... I would, but when we got there, though, his attitude changed towards me. He all of a sudden was cold, distant, and it seemed like I was irritating to him.
The bloom was off the rose.
It was.
Okay, fine.
It fell down and someone squished it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've been around long enough, Mr. Sieber, to know that what goes around comes around. And if you're not nice to people, eventually it's going to come back and bite you in the behind.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lydia Velasquez says former friend Shannon Sieber owes for a trip to Spain. Shannon claims Lydia is upset that he only wants to be friends.
All right. $444 was the plane ticket, is that right?
Correct.
And then there was some expenses for the hotel.
Correct, because we were there for 5 days and 4 nights.
And you are asking for $350, which is less than the cost of the ticket, so your $300, sir, paid portion of the plane ticket. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Look at that. You paid part of the plane ticket and you didn't even know it.
That's great.
Mr. Sieber, you look like a sweet young man. You're 22 years old, so I will attribute some of what you say to me today as being words from somebody who is not yet fully cooked. Just starting to shave and just starting to feel, you know, feel yourself. So I want you to understand something. You're supposed to have a reasonable moral compass. You're not supposed to toy with somebody else's affections. And I think that you're a smart aleck enough to know that by going to Spain with her, you were toying with her affections. You're not supposed to do that. It's unkind. And should you find yourself at the other end of this affection stick at some point in your life, I guarantee you won't like it. But I've been around long enough, Mr. Sieber, to know that what goes around comes around. And it may not come around today, it may not come around tomorrow, but if you're not nice to people, eventually it's going to come back and bite you in the behind. We understand each other?
Clearly.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $350. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's just sad when friends have to start suing each other.
I'm just happy that I'm going to actually get my money back.
It was never a relationship to begin with. It was all made up in our mind.
I might have been misled by him.
It was made very clear before we left it was what it was. There was going to be nothing more.
Not the person that I thought he was.
She's a nice lady.
He's just being rude.
We were only friends, and that's all it would ever be.
We're not friends anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kurlanchik versus McEnany Burt. Step forward.
24-year-old teacher Jennifer Kurlanchik is suing her friends, 23-year-old student Paul McEnany and 24-year-old inventory controller Mike Burt for damages to a Hummer limo she rented on her birthday. Jennifer claims they broke the sunroof.
Ms. Kurlanchik, you rented a limousine to celebrate, I assume, your 24th birthday, and you invited whole group of people to go with you. Two of the people you invited were these two gentlemen here, who, according to you, got a little out of hand and caused damage to the limousine. You were charged for the damage, and you want them to contribute to the cost of the damage that they did themselves. They say everybody was sort of involved in the nonsense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How old are you?
23.
What's your first name?
Paul.
24. Mike.
First name?
Jennifer.
What do you do for a living, Jennifer?
I'm a special ed teacher.
Paul?
I'm a student and I bartend.
Student of what?
Student in advertising.
Logistics management, and work as inventory control clerk, and as well as go to school.
Look what responsible people we have here. When was your birthday?
February 29th.
How big was the limousine?
It fit 15 people. It was a H2 Hummer limousine, so it's pretty large.
I've seen those things driving in the street. You can see them coming about a block away. And how do you know these? And how do you know these two guys?
We're friends. We're in the same fraternity, sorority. We're all friends. We're friends.
We're friends.
What kind of damage was done to the limousine?
The emergency exit window flew off on a major highway, shattered pieces, and I was charged for the damages.
You mean the roof, like a sunroof?
Yes, it's actually a moonroof, and it flew off. There's 3 ledges to unlatch, and the boys unlatched it, and around 2:30 in the morning, it flew off. I didn't see it fly off. That's my witness saw.
How do you know it was these two boys that unlatched the moonroof?
Well, when the incident happened, Mike looked at me and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And I didn't know what actually had happened. I was like, okay, fine, you can take care of it. After the incident happened, Paul comes up to me and he says, well, I was touching a button that made the sunroof go up and down. And that's where I was like, oh, so Paul and Mike were doing it. They were also at the back of the vehicle where the sunroof was located, along with Tracy and one of her friends.
So that's all that you know about how this happened?
Mm-hmm.
Step up. Tell me your name.
My name's Tracy.
Tracy what?
Thompson.
Were you sitting at a location where you could observe these two young men?
The way the limo was set up is there was 2 doors in the back. There was a bench seat that went across there, and I was sitting right there. At the top where the moonroof was, there was a stereo, buttons to turn on the lights in the bar. At that point in time, I had seen people playing with all the lights because lights were changing, everything was moving around. Then all of a sudden, moonroof flew off the top of the car. It was gone. Both of these two looked at each other like, what do we do now? So,
how many people were sitting in their general vicinity?
There was one other person sitting next to me, and it was me. It was these two in front of us. And then the rest of the limo went down with people sitting all the way down in the front.
Now, you say other people were touching the buttons, other than Mike and Paul?
Not that I know of.
So it was just Mike and Paul touching the buttons?
They were the only two that could touch the buttons. There was nobody else around.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I told everybody in this limousine, you cause any damage, you can be responsible for it, because I had to sign basically.
Shh. Where are you now?
Here.
What is here?
Judge Judy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Kurlanchik says former friends Paul McEnany and Mike Burt owe for damages to a limo she rented on her birthday. The men claim they didn't do it.
Okay. Did you say to Jennifer when the moonroof flew off, don't worry, I'll take care of it?
That's correct. I did say that, but that was at the end of the night.
Okay. Now, when you said, don't worry, I'll take care of it, were you referring to the moonroof?
No, I was referring to the driver, because he was getting a little irate and telling us, who's paying for it, who's paying for it? And as we stopped the car, exited, I told her, you know, we're going to take care of it. We're going to help you out as far as talking to the limo driver, saying who was at fault, and this, that, and the other.
Not this, that, and the other thing. So you said to her, don't worry, I'll take care of it, because you were going to explain to the limo driver whose fault it was.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do that?
Well, no, at the point in time she asked me to leave, so I left.
So you didn't?
No.
Well, let's say that you did go to the limo driver to explain whose fault it was. What would you have told the limo driver?
I told him what...
Look at me. No, right here.
All right. Basically, I told him. I would have told him that it wasn't explained to us that this is an emergency escape hatch, because they said later on that it's an emergency escape hatch and it was labeled. No, it wasn't labeled, and the driver never explained to us.
Then you were going to be arguing with him. Let me explain this to you, Mike. Basically, you would have said to the driver, I was touching the buttons with my friend Paul, and the moonroof fell off, but nobody explained to us that it was an emergency door. And it wasn't marked, so how are we supposed to know that it was an emergency door? Is that what you would have said to him?
In so many words, yes.
In less words than you just told me.
Yeah, hopefully.
So you would have said, yeah, we did it. But we didn't know if we touched these buttons and that sort of stuff that this moonroof was going to fall off. It was not properly marked.
Right.
But we did it.
Well, the only thing I had to do with it was I closed it when we got to Dallas. We were leaving from Denton to Dallas. Somebody opened it other than me and Paul. When we got to Dallas, I closed it. That's the last thing I had to do with it. And everybody's pointing fingers at me for some reason. And I'm trying to tell her, no, it's not me. And she doesn't want to buy that. She wants to say, you know, yeah, you did
Somebody
it.
else
She just basically wants to get her money back.
From what Jennifer told me is there were 3 different latches too, and the only thing I ever touched is the one front latch that I thought would push it up, and it went flying off. So those 2 latches had to be undone, and I know other people around that area. I wouldn't, yeah.
Okay. Now, why did you push that one latch up?
Just to open, I thought it was a sunroof. It looked like a sunroof. Nobody told us it was an emergency exit.
You just wanted to get some air.
Yeah. There's 15 bodies, body heat, and everything else, so we opened up.
So, Jennifer, what?
I have warning signs on the sunroof as well as the latches. There had to be some work done to get these latches to come off. It's not a simple button. It's not
well, maybe it wasn't their fault, my dear. Maybe it was the fault of the limousine.
Can I
maybe,
say that?
Shh.
Sorry.
Why, you want to fight with me about that?
No.
Maybe it was the fault of the limousine.
Well, I told everybody in this limousine, you do anything, you cause any damages, you break any glass, you're going to be responsible for it, because I had to sign basically.
Shh. Where are you now?
Here.
What is here?
Judge Judy.
My space. Go ahead.
I had to sign a blank credit card slip that says we're going to charge you $600 for the flat rate.
Jennifer, my dear, you take 15 people out for an evening of partying. You sign on for a 15-passenger Hummer limousine, and you are going to expect that some damage might be done, for which you are going to be responsible. There isn't a shred of credible evidence that these 2 young men are responsible for that emergency exit. Not at all. The fact that they were sitting around there, the fact that they may have been touching it, the fact that he went to open up one of the latches to let some air in, that doesn't make him responsible. I don't even know if you're responsible. It's quite possible that there was a malfunction by the car. And the fact that the limousine company is charged a credit card, perhaps you should sue them.
The fact that they touched the roof and
so what?
Flew off.
So what? So what? That doesn't make it their fault. I am not satisfied that you have sustained your burden to demonstrate that these 2 young men are responsible, that they either negligently, recklessly caused the damage to the limousine. It is just as plausible that someone else had touched one or more of those things at some point during the evening, and when he opened up one latch to let in some air, the thing fell off. That's also plausible. That doesn't make him responsible. And if the limousine company refuses to give you back your money, sue them. Because I don't think you have a case against these 2 young men. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old construction worker Patrick Walentine is suing fellow partygoer, security officer Ed Tomaselli, for dental bills as a result of being punched in the mouth. Ed claims Patrick was the aggressor.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 46 on the calendar in the matter of Walentine versus Tomaselli. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Walentine, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a party, causing you physical injury. You had substantial dental bills. You still have some work that has to be done. You want to be compensated for the assault. Mr. Tomaselli says that you started it, he finished it, and you were unruly. You touched him first, and he acted in self-defense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is your name?
Amber Trill.
This is the lovely Amber. Sit down, Amber. I'm not with you yet, but I will be. When did this happen, Mr. Valentine?
If I could recall the exact date, it would be
The questions
April
are going to
3rd.
get harder. Listen to me, Mr. Valentine. The questions are going to get harder. The date should be something that's fixed in your memory.
The night of April 3rd, 2004.
See, we're not going to play with each other. The only one that has a good time here is me. And you and the lovely Miss Amber were at a party together?
Yes.
Whose party was it?
Kind of my party, a going-away party.
Going from where to where, Mr. Valentine?
I am from New Mexico, so I was visiting. I do live in Seattle right now.
And in whose house was the party?
It was kind of an office building that they renovated into a music venue.
And how did Amber get to the party?
On her own, driving.
You don't know how she got there?
No.
Was she a friend of yours before April 3rd of 2004?
Yeah, we've known each other for about 3 years.
But you did not know Mr. Tomaselli?
I did not know.
All right, so give me your version, please, of what happened on the evening of April 3rd.
It was going well. The music was going. I did notice Ed and his friends hanging out at the party earlier. I didn't.
Mr.
I'm
Valentine,
sorry.
could you try to focus on me, sir? Focus on me. Not up in the air, not in the heavens, not at your shoes. Try to focus on me. So when you're thinking, you can think and look at me at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
To my left, Amber was standing in the corner, talking with some friends. We gave each other a hug. We ended up talking for about another 5 minutes, finished continuing going into the hallway where Ed was standing. Said, "Oh, hi, Ed. This is my friend PJ." "Hi, Ed." And instead of extending his hand out to greet me, he just cocked back and punched me in the face. And at that point, I started bleeding. I stepped back and exited, went to my car because I'm bleeding. I didn't want to fight. I just went, it's my party.
How come you didn't call the police?
Because he had left already. Sure, I could
How
call.
do you know he left already if you went to your car?
Because Amber dragged him out, and I noticed this while I was leaving.
Okay, Mr. Tomaselli, now let's hear your version of the events.
On this night, I'd gone to the party. I was with my friends.
How did you get to the party?
I had taken Amber out for a couple of cocktails earlier, and while we were having cocktails, I don't drink, but Miss Triolo was. She said she was going to a party she was going to bartend at. "Would you like to go?" I said, "Sure." We were going to hook up, go to this party, hopefully go home later to my house. Maybe not. We weren't an item at that time.
Could we, listen, I'm not interested in the potential romance.
Okay, but this is how I got there.
Shh. I'm just interested in how you got there. So you knew her before.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long had you known Amber?
About a year, year and a half.
Had you dated?
Yes, Your Honor.
You dated exclusively or just off and on?
Off and on.
All right. So you saw her on the evening of April 3rd. You had a couple of drinks with her, and then she invited you to come to this party.
I did not drink, Your Honor. I don't drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm a wrestler, athlete, professional athlete.
Okay.
I didn't drink, so I went to this party. Amber was already there. We were standing in a circle.
Who was we?
Me, my friends, and Amber.
Could you look at me when
Mr. Valentine came in from outside, started snuggling up next to Amber. Amber introduced us all. I said, "That's messed up," because they were snuggling. I thought I was going to be with Amber, so I walked away. When I was walking away, Mr. Valentine came up behind me, pursued me down this hallway, and said, "What's up, dog?" Okay, he did not put his hand out. He had his hand clenched, and he reached out to me. Through my experience,
How did you see that, sir, if you were walking away and he was behind you?
I was in the hallway where I turned around to see what was going on. I walked through the hallway. There was a lot of people. I turned around to see where my buddies were, and Mr. Valentine was behind me.
Yes.
He put his hand on my shoulder, said, "What's up,
How
dog?"
did he put his hand on your shoulder?
Reached out towards me.
Touched your shoulder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
At that time, I turned around and said, "I'm not your dog." And yes, I did hit him. Through my experience and expertise, I know when someone comes up behind you and says, "What's up, dog?" he has bad intentions. A man this size has the potential of hurting me, someone my size, very badly.
All right, Amber. Front and center. You and Mr. Tomaselli were out earlier that evening?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli did not drink?
No.
You got to the party? You went with him?
No.
You went in your own car?
I believe so, yes.
Try getting it more specific than that. Did
Yeah,
you go in
I
your own
drove.
car, or did you go with Mr. Tomaselli?
No, I drove.
So you met there?
Yes.
Why do I feel as if I'm telling this story by myself? These are not trick questions. They may get harder, but right now they're not trick questions, Amber. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You were present at the time that Mr. Valentine was struck in the mouth?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened. Try looking at me when you tell me how that happened.
We were talking, Patrick and I, and Mr. Tomaselli walked up and I said, "Hey Ed, how's it going?" You know, I gave him a hug, told him hi, and I introduced him to PJ, and instead of them meeting each other, he just socked him in the face.
Why would he do that?
Jealousy.
He wasn't drunk or anything, right?
No.
He was clearly angry because he said, "Hey, that's messed up." Right, Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, who are you?
My name's Kyle McElroy.
Kyle, you were there that day.
I was there that evening.
Good. And I know that you're dying to tell me your version of these events, aren't you, Kyle?
I can't wait.
Well, then just step up here, Kyle. Kyle, how old are you?
I'm 21.
How long have you known Mr. Tomaselli?
I knew none of the parties that night.
How'd you get to this party?
Through a friend of mine. It's a Wednesday night kegger that, as far as I knew, it was like a deal that they had every Wednesday.
Wednesday night, the West Wing is on. Why would anybody want to go to a kegger?
So, would you like me to tell
I
my story?
would.
Okay. Like he said, we were standing there talking. Amber, we were sitting there talking to Amber. This guy walked up. We were introduced. We were standing there. Then Ed got, frustrated, decided to...
Just a minute. I'm going to ask you to speculate. Why did Ed get frustrated?
Well, like you say, the girl he thought he was coming to meet at the party was...
Canoodling.
Canoodling. So...
With somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I saw Ed walking away. The guy kind of came up behind him and kind of turned his shoulder. "What's up, dog?" Ed said, "I'm not your dog."
Well, you just did something. You said, "What's up, dog?" And then you did something like extend your hand.
But kind of, yeah, well...
What does that mean?
Well, like I said...
Touched him on his shoulder, right?
Yeah. Ed took it as a threat, obviously. Punched the guy.
And sit down.
Thank you.
You too. Mr. Tomaselli, you're clearly a very powerful young man. You are proficient in the martial arts.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that they teach you, because I know I have grandchildren who take these martial art classes, is you're supposed to be able to control yourself, Mr. Tomaselli, right?
Yes,
it's all
Your Honor.
about control, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you controlled yourself well that night, Mr. Tomaselli. I think you got very angry. You can't even make an excuse that you'd had something to drink, but you hurt him badly. And there was no aggression on his part, not even according to your witness. He was probably stupid drunk, but he's just sort of a big goof. Mr. Tomaselli, I want you to trust me. He's really just sort of a big goof.
If you say so, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Tomaselli, he didn't come up behind you, spin you around, and punch you. He came up, he put his hand on you, and said to you, "What's up, dog?" Now, I don't know what that means, and I may be out of things. My children are older than Officer Bird's children. Do you know what "what's up, dog" means? What does it mean?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? That's what it would seem to me to mean. What's up, dog? It's not necessarily a term of endearment, but it's not, choose your weapons. We're going to, we're going to joust.
Not from my mouth, at least.
Well, you're just a big doughboy. He's you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Not a bad guy. Let me see your dental bills, Mr. Valentine.
The first occurred is for the infection. I got all puffed up and in pain. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and
you're right.
That
I
had
know.
to get antibiotics, painkillers, so I could finally sleep and go back to work.
Which tooth was it? The tooth that's missing?
Yeah.
That one? You need an implant there?
I still need to get my implant.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patrick Wallentine says fellow partygoer Ed Tomaselli punched him in the mouth. Ed says Patrick was too friendly with his date.
What do you do for a living?
I do a lot of things, but right now
What you just said, what's your favorite thing?
My favorite?
Yeah. You know, you do a lot of things, so tell me what your favorite,
My
what
favorite
your fave is.
is to sing and host people, kind of like parties.
This is so painful.
That's my favorite thing. But right now, I do have a painting business and a construction business that I work for. So I can do anything.
Can't put in an implant.
I can.
See what I mean? Mr. Tomaselli.
Yes, Your Honor.
Harmless. You misjudged his intent. Put your hand down.
Sorry.
All right? He's a lover, not a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to hurt you. And you overreacted because you were angry. And you have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ed didn't tell the truth. I did not touch him.
It was a tombstone, flying ruckus, left.
I fell back, and that's all, and I walked out.
Went down like everybody.
Maybe he's been choked a couple times, can't really remember it quite straight.
When they step up to the plate, like Hank Aaron, they just knock him out of the park.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Soyak versus Holloway. Step forward, please.
Limousine driver James Soyak is suing former client, business owner Tim Holloway, for an unpaid hotel bill. James says Tim is a scammer.
Mr. Holloway, how old are you, sir?
33.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I have a maintenance company.
How long have you had it?
My dad had it since '59. I took it over about 3 years ago.
He's no longer involved in the business.
Sometimes, yeah.
So he still goes into the office?
Correct.
On a daily basis?
2 or 3 times a week.
Are you making this up as we're going along, sir?
No.
Or are you trying to give me accurate answers? Because you never can tell why I'm asking you these questions.
Correct.
Now, do you live alone or do you live with someone else?
I live with my fiance.
Did you move into her place or did you move in someplace together?
Together.
When?
2 years ago.
What's the address?
North Wilson.
How large an apartment is it?
It's a condo, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Are you renting or did you buy it?
We're renting that.
Are you both on the lease?
Yes.
I love this. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, Mr. Soyak, you drive a limousine.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you drove Mr. Holloway in your limousine to a casino, hotel.
Yes.
And he told you that he'd forgotten his wallet and he needed a hotel room. So you agreed to put the hotel room on your credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not true.
He used the room and then stiffed you for the reimbursement.
I rented 2 rooms for him, $99 each.
In addition, he didn't have his wallet, so he said he needed some money. You gave him cash. He gave you a check.
Yes, ma'am.
For $300. The check bounced.
Yes.
That's not true.
What's not true, sir?
The room, not a check.
Let's talk about the check.
Okay.
Let me hear.
I gave him a check. Me and my fiance was having problems at the house. I couldn't get to what I need to get to the bank. I owe him for the $300, but the hotel room, it never happened.
Now, okay. Now, Mr. Holloway, your last paragraph of your answer, which you swore to, sir, says, I did give him a check for $300, which was returned. I explained that I had just moved and was having problems with my bank account.
I did just move.
No, just a second. I explained that I had just moved.
Same thing I just said.
No, that's not. Mr. Holloway, let me understand something, sir. No more than 5 minutes ago, I said to you, where do you live? You gave me the address. Who do you live with? I live with my fiance. How long have you lived there in the condo? 2 years. Did you sign a lease? Yes.
That's what I said. But I just moved. If we was having problems, evidently I had to leave because we was having problems. So I did leave. Now now we reconciled. That's one thing. But I did leave. So what I told you is the truth.
Can I see the bills for the 2 rooms, please? Mr. Soyak, how long have you been driving a limousine?
10 years.
Okay. You ever had this kind of trouble?
Never.
Mr. Soyak, let me explain something to you. Don't be an idiot. You don't take out your credit card, allow somebody to put money on your credit card. You don't take checks from people you don't know.
You're absolutely right. No,
good.
It'll never
Can I have
happen
it,
again.
please? The rooms you rented for $99, but he certainly did a lot more damage than the $99.
He drank everything in the bar. Plus movies, plus phone calls.
I never went in there.
Okay. You owe him a whole bunch of money, sir. You owe him for these 2 hotel rooms. Who else was with you? Who else was with him, Mr. Soyak?
He found a couple of young gentlemen. They were walking the street while we were in Old Town Pasadena, and he claimed he's a music producer. And I don't know how he knew these guys can sing, but he made friends with them and invited them later to be picked up in the car, and we drove them also to the Commerce Casino. He didn't want the other two men to sleep in the same room as him, so he wanted me to get a separate room for them.
That's a lie. That never happened.
It's not a lie because I have my witnesses
Mr. Holloway,
here.
Mr. Holloway.
I have my witnesses here. My other driver that picked him up Sunday.
So you dropped him off and somebody else picked him up?
Yes.
Who picked him up?
Richard. He's my co-driver.
Step up, sir. Your last name?
Thompson.
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,113. That's all. Step out.
Thank you.
Teresa Gatto is suing her nephew's classmate, 12-year-old Pierre Guillet, and his father, Francois. Teresa says Pierre knocked out her nephew's tooth during a fight.
Now, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Gatto versus Guillet. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Not you. Ms. Gatto, this is your son?
This is my nephew. I'm legal guardian to him. I'm raising him, Your Honor.
And according to your complaint, this young man broke his tooth, and you want his family to pay for the dental work that's going to take to fix that tooth.
That's correct,
all right?
Your Honor.
All right, so I want all the parents and guardians to have a seat, because you weren't there when it happened, right?
Right.
And you don't know what happened. Only these 2 guys know what happened. So you're going to tell me all about it, right?
Right.
Tell me your name.
Anthony DiGirolamo.
And yours?
Pierre.
How old are you, Anthony?
12.
Pierre?
12.
How long have you known each other?
Since 4th grade.
Do you like each other?
Yes. Yes.
Did you ever have any problems with each other?
No. Yes.
What kind of problems did you have with Anthony?
He's calling me very rude names.
When did he start calling you names?
In the 4th grade when he came to the school.
But I thought you just told me you liked each other.
Well, yeah, I've been inviting him to stuff like birthday parties, movies, stuff like that.
Does he come?
Yeah.
Does he invite you?
No. He only invites...
Yeah.
Shh.
Yes, I do invite him to stuff. Like, I invited him to my birthday party in the 4th grade, and I invited him to another party, too.
When?
I think it was in the 4th grade, too.
So you're talking about 4 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about 4 years ago. I'm talking about yesterday.
Okay.
So, since the 4th grade, you haven't invited him to anything?
Not really.
Has he invited you?
I think only once in 5th grade.
What about in 6th grade?
No.
Last year, he came to my birthday party in July.
Is that right?
I believe, yes.
Okay. So even though he called you names you didn't like, you still invited him to your party?
Right.
Now, why don't you tell me, Anthony, what happened on March the 2nd?
Okay. I was inside of a pizza shop, and
Pierre and Christopher followed me inside. And when I ordered my food, I sat down, and Pierre poured cheese all over my head.
Where did you get the cheese from, Pierre?
It was in the pizzeria. It was Parmesan cheese.
You mean from one of those little glass containers? Yeah. And you shook the cheese out on his head?
No, I just put it on his ear.
Put it on his ear. Why did you do that?
Because right before outside the pizzeria, he was calling me a lot of names.
Were you doing that, Anthony?
I called him one time, and the reason why I called him the names was a few days before that. When I went inside the pizzeria, he would always, when I got up, he would always sit next to my book bag and not let me sit down. And sometimes him and Chris would take my book bag and run around the block with it so I couldn't get it.
So they had teased you a couple of days before?
Yes.
Is that right, Pierre?
No, he teases me.
Okay. So you put a little cheese on his ear. And then what did you do, Anthony?
Then I ran out after him and I kicked him.
Where were you both when you kicked him? Inside the pizza store or outside?
Outside.
And where did you kick him? On his leg?
On his butt.
You can't do that to somebody. That's an assault. You could have hurt him, right?
Right.
And then what did you do after you kicked him?
Then I went back into the pizzeria to get my food, right? And then I told him to go back to the sewer.
Well, just a second. You mean he followed you back into the pizzeria?
Right.
And what happened next?
And then I was standing at the counter, and he came up to me, and then he slammed my head onto the counter.
And that's when your tooth broke?
Right.
Now I'm going to hear your side of the story.
He didn't kick me in the behind, Your Honor. He kicked me in the leg, not just once, but like 5 to 6 times in the leg.
What did you say to him when he kicked you?
I didn't say anything. I didn't run out anyway.
You just walked out?
Right, and then...
So you didn't get any food?
Right.
So you went in there, and your purpose for going in there was to put cheese on his head. You know that was the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Okay. Now, tell me about when you hit his head into the counter.
Before that, when he said go back to the sewer, he gave me the finger, then said go back to the sewer. Then I walked up to him and I pushed him like that.
And that's when he hurt his mouth?
Right, and then I ran out.
Why did you run out?
Because I didn't want him to attack me again.
Go ahead.
Okay. He didn't just go like that to me. He actually went like that, not like soft. He hit my head onto the...
How hard did you kick him in the butt?
Not really hard, because I was running and trying to do it.
You think that was the right thing to do?
No.
Your guardian think that was the right thing to do?
No, Your Honor, I didn't. But he was bothering him days before that, Your Honor.
I'm not saying that Pierre did the right thing. Pierre did the wrong thing. So did Anthony.
Absolutely.
Now, Anthony, had you ever broken this tooth before?
Yes, it was chipped.
And when this incident happened with Pierre, it was chipped again.
It was broken this time, and it hurts now, like my tooth is sensitive to hot and cold.
But you still have the tooth?
I have part of it. And this is like a temporary thing.
Temporary cap?
Yes.
Now, do you think, Anthony, that you are partially responsible for what happened that day?
Partially, a little bit.
Do you think he's partially responsible for what happened that day?
Well, Your Honor, in a way I do, but in a way I don't, because he's been bullied. I mean, he's been bullied by the kid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Mr. Hoyt can taxi out of his driveway and taxi directly onto the runway.
Why do you think he would choose not to do that?
Because he likes to show off.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 12-year-old Anthony DiGirolamo says his classmate, 12-year-old Pierre Guillet, poured cheese on his head and pushed his face onto a counter, knocking out his tooth. Pierre says Anthony kicked him first.
Now, the objective data is that Pierre has invited your nephew to his home, to parties, as recently as... Listen to me. No. According to your nephew, it's been 4 years since he invited him to a party. That's according to your nephew.
Okay, that was
It's been 4 years. But last summer, he was invited to his birthday party. And there's no question that between the two of them, each one of them believes that the other one isn't behaving right. So all I'm saying to you is, both of these young men behaved badly.
You're right.
He had no right to go in there and put Parmesan cheese on his head or ear. Right? He had no right to kick him in the butt. How much did it cost you at the dentist to fix your tooth?
It's not totally fixed yet, Your Honor. They have to wait for the nerve to come down and get a little longer.
Okay. It's probably going to cost you at least the $1,500 that you're suing for to have a permanent cap put on his tooth, and I think that he's partially responsible.
Yes, Your Honor.
So your actions that day are going to cost your guardian, your aunt, $750. That's all you're getting from them, $750. You got to learn to keep your hands to yourself. We understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. That's all.
What is that excuse? You may step back.
When I looked at Anthony, his mouth was out the hair and he was covered with blood and he had no tooth there.
He makes fun of everyone in the school.
He started to bully me around, and I got mad at him.
I couldn't take it anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hoyt versus Champ. Step forward, please.
Lumber salesman Robert Hoyt is suing his neighbor, Juanita Champ, for damage to his airplane. Robert says Juanita left a trash can in the taxiway.
Mr. Hoyt, I am so pleased that you brought that diagram. You don't happen to have a picture, do you?
I do.
I'd really like to take a look at the picture while I'm sort of recapping what I think happened in this case, or at least what you allege. You and the defendants live in a community where a whole bunch of people have airplanes. And instead of garages, there are hangars.
In addition to garages, there are hangars.
I wasn't looking to shortchange you, Miss Champ. I said there were big hangars for planes, but I'm sure you also have a car.
We do.
And it is your claim that you were taxiing your plane in an area where you are allowed to taxi your plane. It also serves as a street. And that the defendant placed her garbage can outside on your street/runway. As a result of that, you clipped the wing of your plane, causing damage, right?
Correct.
And Miss Champ's defense is you weren't looking where you were going.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, show me what happened.
On May 21st, while taxiing out of my driveway to the neighborhood road, which acts as the taxiway, I S-turned all the way down.
S-turn. What's an S-turn?
It's going back in the shape of an S, back and forth. I have a tail dragger.
Why do you do that?
I have a tail dragger biplane where you cannot see over the nose of the biplane. So in order to taxi correctly, you have to do S-turns on the taxiway. And as you turn to your left, you look right. As you turn to your right, you look left.
Why did you get a plane where you can't see over the nose?
It's in the aerobatic biplanes. To reduce drag, you don't have a nose wheel, so they give you a tail wheel. And also, if you're taking off grass runways, it gives you more prop clearance. So this is
Sorry I asked you. Okay, so you're zigging and zagging in order to get to the runway.
Correct.
Go.
And 3/4 of the way down, Miss Champ lives, and upon taxiing, and hit her garbage can.
She's not allowed to have a garbage can on her property?
She is allowed to have a garbage can on her property, but the easement for the safe passage on the taxiway, 25 feet off center, is to have no obstructions. And an additional 10 feet beyond, there's to be nothing exceeding 2 feet in height. This garbage can is 3 feet and 2 inches, and she chose to put it alongside the taxiway. I have a videotape that also will show this, and I have the CCNRs, which will state this.
Take the videotape for me.
Sure.
Put it in. And let me take a look at that
And there's the
regulation.
And also, Your Honor, from our Neighborhood Safety Committee, which will show that CCNR. You can see the can, which is circled with a red dot.
That looks like the can's out in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I don't. That's
Can
not on the
is
grass, sir.
never in the middle of the street.
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
Was your garbage can outside?
Yes, it was.
Was your garbage can 10 feet in from your property line?
Probably not.
Why?
Well, every Wednesday the garbage cans are out there. Mr. Hoyt's also has been out there all that same time.
Mr. Hoyt, do you place your garbage cans out for collection every Wednesday?
Nope. Garbage is on Thursday, and mine go out Thursday morning.
You have different people picking up garbage in your area?
We place ours out in the evening because we don't want to get up before 7 a.m. But ours was out early that day.
Was this a Wednesday or a Thursday?
This was a Wednesday morning.
It was Wednesday because we were going on vacation and we put our garbage can out a few hours before we would normally put them out.
Okay. Now, when you put your trash cans out on Thursday morning, sir, I would assume that you put them out closer than 10 feet just that one day, and everybody is aware of that. Is that right?
That one day, sure.
Yes. I knew I was going to get there. So on Thursday, everybody is aware. Watch out on Thursday morning because the garbage cans are out there. Is that right, Mr. Hoyt?
That's correct.
But this was out Wednesday morning, so you weren't expecting garbage cans to be out Wednesday morning.
No.
I got it. I'm going to get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay?
I got a lot to say.
Well, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Hoyt says neighbor Juanita Champ owes for damage to his airplane. Robert claims she left a trash can in the taxiway.
Okay. Mr. Hoyt, would anything prevent you, if you wanted to take your plane out for a spin, to get into your car, take a ride down the quarter of a mile and see whether there are any obstructions in the road? Would anything prevent you from doing that?
Nothing would prevent me from
Don't
doing
you think that that's a good idea, sir?
In light of what happened, that's a prudent thing to do.
Absolutely, because it could have just as easily been a bunch of kids there as a garbage can.
I agree.
And if you can't see, then it's up to you to be particularly careful, right?
Correct.
Now we're going to get to Miss Champ, who told me she has a whole bunch to say. Go!
Okay, thank you, Judge Judy. One of my premises is that Mr. Hoyt can taxi out of his driveway, go directly across our road, and taxi directly onto the runway.
Why do you think he would choose not to do that?
Because he likes to show off.
Well, explain that to me.
He had a passenger on board his airplane. He was trying to show off the neighborhood.
Is there a passenger on board your plane?
Doyce Bishop was my passenger at the time.
Okay. So Mr. Hoyt knows that you can't see over the front of his plane. It would seem to me that if you don't have at all times a clear view of what's in front of you, then you have to make darn sure that the area is clear. So you have partial responsibility and at least are contributorily negligent yourself in maneuvering your plane in such a way that you cause damage to it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's all your fault, but I'm saying it's at least half your fault, and I haven't let Miss Champ finish, because she's got a lot more to tell me. Okay, so you think he was showing off, but you weren't there?
I was not there, but I have witnesses who were there.
Okay, here's the witnesses. Tell me your name.
William Peterson.
Mr. Peterson, were you present on May 21st, 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My wife and I were out in the yard. Bob come taxiing by, and he was doing his weaving. And he looked over at us and waved, and I'm sure that distracted his attention.
You remember that, sir?
Waved to not go move his truck. That's what he was signaling. He goes to get in his truck, and I'm like, no. And you can see his truck parked there. I diligently avoided his truck. Her garbage can, from visibility of the cockpit, was sitting behind the truck. And as I did my S-turn, so my wing avoided his truck, I did not leave the taxiway. I taxied to the right. When I did my next S-turn, I'm now pointed directly at a garbage can that should not be there. As you can see, nobody else's is.
So what you were trying to do, sir, is to avoid his truck.
Absolutely.
Now, if his truck had not been there,
I would have seen the can.
could you have seen it if you got in your car before you got in your plane and drove that quarter mile up the road to see if there were any obstructions?
I had picked up Doyce and his son and another friend at the airport. When we came back that morning, we probably came back before Juanita put it out.
Well, what time was that?
I don't remember the exact time when you came in the morning, but...
10 o'clock.
How long did it take you to get back to Mr. Hoyt's house?
It was probably about 11 o'clock when we were taxiing, so...
Okay, who put your garbage cans out?
Actually, my husband did.
What time?
Boy, that's been a year ago. My guess would be 10:30 maybe.
How long of a drive is it from where he picked you up to where he brought you back to his house?
It must have been 45 minutes, I'm guessing.
So it was a pretty close thing as to whether the garbage can got out there before or after you got into your car. I don't know. Now, after he hit the garbage can, did he stop his plane?
Yes.
Got out and looked at it?
No, he did not. I come running over there, and all the garbage is blowing all over the place. And he says, would you look under my wing and see if you see any damage? Well, it's a fabric airplane with ribs, so it, you got the dips.
Mm-hmm.
I looked under it, and I could not see any damage. And so I says, I do not see any.
Uh-huh.
And so then he
Took off.
Took
Did you
off.
go flying that day?
Yep. Yes, I did.
How long did you fly that day?
Probably about 35 minutes, 40 minutes total.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Hoyt. Because you flew that day, did it exacerbate any damage that was done by the garbage can?
No.
Well, if your wing was so damaged, and your plane is fabric plane, right?
Correct.
And you're telling me that you don't think that a fabric plane's wing could be further damaged by flying it for an additional 35 minutes after an injury?
No, they could.
Well, Ms. Champ, I think you're absolutely adorable, but I think that you have some responsibility with regard to this accident because you did put your trash can out on a day when he was not anticipating that it was going to be out there. You acknowledge yourself that it wasn't beyond 10 feet of the property line, which was the agreement of all residents. That doesn't excuse Mr. Hoyt from doing everything that he should have done. He should have inspected that area, and in addition to that, he drove the plane after this incident, which could have further exacerbated whatever injury was done to the plane's wing on the 21st of May. So I think that you bear the greatest responsibility, Mr. Hoyt. I'm giving you $1,000 towards your bill, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you very much.
Please excuse you, Miss.
Marketing director Paula Sharia is suing her son, 20-year-old cook Joe Hapka, for the return of a car and car payments. Joe says his mom is trying to control his life.
Yeah, this is case number 42 on the calendar in the matter of Sharia versus Hapka. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mrs. Sharia, this is your son.
Yes.
And your claim is that you co-signed a loan for him for an automobile several years ago. He made payments regularly for a long time. Then he stopped making the payments.
Right.
And you have been forced to make, I believe, the last 8 payments on the car in order for the credit company not to cause a default on the loan. And since he's not making the payments, you want him to give you the car so that you can sell it and perhaps recoup some of the loss since he's not making the payments. Your son says this is not about the car because he has been making regular payments on the car for the last 8 months, even after you kicked him out of your house. He says that it's all about control, that since you can't control his life and you don't like his friends, you want to take his car away because that's the only thing he's got. That's your defense?
That's right.
Okay. How old are you, Joe?
20.
Do you have siblings?
I have a brother.
How old is your brother?
23.
Okay. Do you see him regularly?
Yeah.
Yes. Try yes.
Yes.
And what about your mom? Does he see your mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so they're close. So there's 2 boys. 2 boys. She's close to the older son. And according to what I read in her complaint and your answer, she was pretty good to you also.
Yes.
You needed a car several years ago. You were 18.
Yeah. Yes.
Where's your father?
My father, he lives somewhere in Cheektowaga in Newark. I don't really talk to him. I didn't really have a relationship with him.
Did you, look at me, Joe, did your mother always work when you were little?
Yes.
And who do you think supported you and your brother?
She did.
Okay. First of all, it goes without saying that you and your mom had an agreement that she would co-sign for this car, but you would make the monthly payments. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you did, according to your mom, make them for a very long time. When did he stop making payments on the car?
In September of 03.
And is that when you started to make the payments?
Yes.
Do you have proof that you made those payments?
Oh, yes.
May I see them, please? Now, before September of 2003, who would make the payments?
Joe would. Joe would give me the money or his paycheck, and he used to give me $40 a week to cover the payments. And then all of a sudden, he started saying, well, I want to just give them to you at the end of the month or the beginning of the month when it was due. Then it came to the point where he changed. He was going to school. That's why I co-signed for the loan. He was working 2 jobs. I have a big lot. He was mowing all the lawn. He was taking care of his chores, his room, and everything. Then he gets transferred over to a different pizza place, then meets up with some kids, and all of a sudden, he stayed out until 5 o'clock in the morning. He didn't tell me. He told me he doesn't have to tell me where he was. He quit school, stopped going little by little till he quit school.
What school was he going to?
He was going for electronics. I told him that if he went for electronics, that I would help him start a business in it. And He was doing everything right. All of a sudden, he was trashing his room. There was food, there was clothes, there was breaking the ceiling, the wall, you know. And I went downstairs. I opened up a book that was down there. I found some marijuana in there. He told me that it was his friends. He was just holding it for them. I used to give picnic parties, and he used to be the kind of kid, he was such a good kid that he used to hold a beer in front of him while everyone else was drinking, and by the end of the party, I would dump it out because he never really liked it.
Okay. September of 2003, is that when he stopped making all the payments?
Yes, he didn't give me a payment at all that month. And that is when I kicked him out. The reason I kicked him out is for tough love.
Joe, look at me, Joe.
Okay.
So your mom, who took care of you and your brother, because I gather your father wasn't much of a participant, who wanted to help you secure your future, are you telling me that your mother is lying to me in court when she says that you stopped making payments to her on the car?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, she was right. I was giving her the payments, the $4 a week for the longest time, and once I didn't really quit school. I got thrown out of school. I missed too many days.
Why
like
did you
10
miss
days in 1 year.
Why did you miss so many days, Joe? Look at me. Don't look down.
I was working 2 jobs. It was just hard to get there sometimes.
So tell me about these new friends that you had that your mom didn't approve of.
See, I don't even know what that's really about, new friends.
Tell me about the marijuana she found in the house.
That wasn't mine.
Whose was it? Look at me. Don't look down. Look at me. Whose was it?
It was a friend of mine's.
What were you doing with it?
He asked me to hold it so his mom wouldn't find it, and then she found it.
Well, that's not a friend. A friend doesn't ask you to do something wrong so that his mom wouldn't find it and place you in a situation where your mother found it. That's not a friend. And that's not somebody who's very smart that'll do that. Joe.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm 20 years old. I still have to live perfectly to her rules. I can't do anything. I can't see anybody.
Joe, listen to me.
Yeah.
If you live in her house, she owns the air you breathe.
And later today,
she said that she would agree to talk to me, and then she started insulting me. And I said, I'm coming for my stuff right now. She said no, I could not have my stuff.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Sharia says her son, Joe Hapka, needs to get his life together. She is suing for the return of a car and car payments.
Did you give her money last week?
No.
Did you give her money 4 weeks ago?
No.
So it's been some time since you gave her money. If you had to rent a car, you'd pay for it, right?
Well, I didn't trust her to give her the money because she's saying that, because I don't have my own book to send the payments in. She had her own book from the bank that she kept. That's why I gave her the money. She mailed in the payments. I kept doing that until I got a subpoena that I haven't been paying for.
So what you're telling me is you are prepared right now, if she gave you the book, listen to me, if she gave you the book, you're prepared to resume payments on the car. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can I see the book, please?
Sure.
Good.
Your Honor, he hasn't paid insurance since at least March. I got a paper stating that because he didn't pay insurance, his license is suspended. He's still driving, and this has been since March at least. He was in a car accident in March.
Is that right, Joe?
And they're suing him.
Since I got a letter saying that my license was suspended, that I haven't drove it since then. It's been parked at my brother's house.
Well, so you're telling me that you are going to make these payments even though you can't drive the car?
Well, it's just until I didn't have money for insurance at the time, so that was,
just
I had
a
an insurance lapse.
Just a second. Why didn't you have money for insurance?
I just wasn't making enough.
Don't you think you ought to get rid of this car?
No. I need the car. I really don't have anything. She kicked me out. I'm living basically on the street in my car, and she wants to take my car.
Well, you didn't sleep in your car 2 nights ago. So.
No, I didn't, but there's been times.
Sure, so listen, if you had behaved yourself, she wouldn't have kicked you out?
I'm 20 years old. I still have to live perfectly to her rules. I can't do anything. I can't see anybody.
Joe, listen to me. You do not, sir. You don't have to listen to your mother. You don't have to abide by her rules. Only if you live in her house. If you live in her house, she owns the air you breathe. And she doesn't have to wait until you decide to come home because she's going to be up at night wondering whether you're home safely or not. So you can't meander in at 5 o'clock in the morning. And you can't have friends over that she doesn't like. And you can't, listen to me,
right.
And you don't have a room. You don't have a room. She allows you to live in a room in her
there.
house. Evidently, whatever you were contributing to the household was not sufficient to balance the aggravation that your new lifestyle was posing for your mother. Shh. Step up. Tell me your name.
Richard Collado.
How do you know him?
Basically, I didn't graduate with his brother's brother. I didn't graduate, but I went to school with his brother, and his brother now lives with me.
You, I assume, believe that you have something to contribute to this case.
Yeah. I've seen him pay her twice. Once in
when?
Once in September.
And once when?
And then a little in January.
Tell me about the time that you saw him give his mother money in January 2004.
Basically, she came over, I think, to see his brother, Frank, who was living with me. And I was sleeping on the couch. It was a Saturday or Sunday. I remember being woken up by her complaining that he was about, I think, $50, $60 short. Something that I considered significant to disturb my sleep over, but I remember being woken up because he was short on a car payment. So he didn't have the total payment, but he did pay her something.
You remember that discussion?
Your Honor, I have never seen this kid before in my life. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he is a friend of my other sons. I have never met him.
You may not have been sleeping on the couch. Do you remember going over to your son sometime in January of 2004 and having a discussion about a short car payment?
No. What I have done is I have complained on the phone at his job, and I have pleaded with his brother to try and get him to pay me something. I have been, my stomach has been in a knot. I've been crying, upset. I mean, and I haven't said you're $50 short. He's short the whole entire payment.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I was going to let him stay, but I just could not deal with that because, you know, the relationship was over. It was very hard to be there.
So you were happy that he left?
Yes, I was, because I could not take it anymore.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Sharia says her son, Joe Hapka, needs to get his life together. She is suing for the return of a car and car payments.
Joe, according to you, it is your intention to pay this. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I do not believe that you have made your car payments, and one of the reasons I don't believe that you made your car payments is because you didn't even make your insurance payments on the car. So your mother made $1,200 worth of car payments for you over the last 8 months, and that you owe her. Now, I'm giving you back this book. This book is now your responsibility. I am telling you that it is now on the record that it is your intention to assume full responsibility for making those car payments this day forward. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
But since you have now stated to me that your intention is to make these payments yourself, if your mother has to make these payments for you, she has the right to pursue you civilly, garnish your wages, to recoup whatever money you don't pay on the car. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Good. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200, which represents the amount of payments that she's made on the car. You no longer have any responsibility between the two of you. He's taking over his own car payments. Unfortunately, I cannot direct that he return the car to you, nor can I give you all the money that you owe on the car, because before you co-sign for somebody, you have to think twice about doing that. He has now assumed full responsibility for the car. It's all yours, babe. Take care of it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's driving without a license right now. I'm very concerned for his future. I wanted him to go to school. I wanted him to have a business.
She didn't want me to go anywhere. If I left the house late at night, where are you going? I mean, I'm 20 years old.
Maybe he looks at it as though I was controlling him, but when he gave me the payments I made for his car, at least I knew they were paid because that was our agreement when I co-signed.
I have my own car, I have my own life, my own job. You can't be telling me what to do this late. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I just hope that he wakes up and goes back to the way he used to be. He was very self-controlled. He had a goal, a mindset. He was a good kid.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Armendariz versus Barrett. Step forward, please.
26-year-old retail clerk Lena Armendariz is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old waiter Ryan Barrett, for an unpaid loan for rent. Ryan is countersuing for his waterbed, rollerblades, and computer.
Ms. Armendariz, Mr. Barrett and you lived together for a period of time. He was your boyfriend, and according to your complaint, he ran into some tough financial times, couldn't pay his rent for a few months, and you loaned him the money to pay his share of the rent.
That's right.
He moved out, and you want that money back. Mr. Barrett says this was not a loan. You were living together. You were a couple living together. You went into some hard times, and you just covered the rent until he moved out and found his own place. He is counterclaiming because he said at some point he decided he wanted to come back and get his property that he had left behind, and you told him that he couldn't until he paid the rent that he owed you. So he is counterclaiming for his waterbed, rollerblades, and a computer.
That's correct.
When did you move in?
We moved in together in March of 2003.
Did you have a lease?
We did have a lease, yes.
How long was the lease?
It wasn't a specific length of time.
Actually, there was, Your Honor, I have this right here, the lease copy. It's for, it has the date right over there, right there on there.
Would you show this to the defendant, please, and ask him if that's his signature?
Yes, it's my signature.
That's a lease.
Yes.
So you had a lease?
We had a lease.
The lease was for 1 year. When did you move out?
I moved out in September. Actually, October, rather.
She's not suing you for the rent during that time. When did you stop paying rent?
I stopped paying in the end of September. I didn't pay for October because I was not living there in October.
He was actually, Your Honor.
Just a second. When did you go back to get your property?
I tried to go back and get my property several times, and every time...
According to your answer, you say you went back in December.
The first time was not in December. The first time was in October, and then again in November.
Okay, in October, did you take any property with you?
I took some property, the stuff that I could fit inside of a small car.
Then you went back again in November.
Right.
What happened in November when you went back?
There was nobody there.
And then, according to you, you went back in December.
Right.
Did you tell her why you were coming back?
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She said that she would agree to talk to me, and we went to talk. And then she started insulting me. So I left, and when I came back again, I called her again on the way back to the house, and I said, I'm coming for my stuff right now. She said no, I could not have my stuff.
You want to tell me why you moved out?
I moved out because we broke up, and she told me to get out.
Is that right?
That is right, but the thing what happened is I was going to let him stay there, you know, until he got himself together and got, you know, money and everything. But I just could not deal with that because, you know, I know it's not very relevant to it, but, you know, the relationship was over. It was very hard to be there.
So you were happy that he left?
Well, yes, I was, because I could not take it anymore. And he wanted to try to work it out, to try to, you know, make payments to me and everything.
I wanted my property back, honestly.
Just a minute. So
he did not say he wanted to...
Just a second. So when you discussed it, you discussed making payments. Is that right, sir?
I told her that I would...
Just answer my question. Stop tap dancing. I said, did you in fact tell her that you would make payments?
Yes.
Great. And what happened?
What happened? I tried to contact her to set up a time to make payments.
To make payments? To make payments. Had you come to an agreement on the amount?
I went ahead and I said yes to her amount.
Which was what amount, sir?
It was $900 at the time.
Why didn't that come to fruition?
That did not come to fruition because she wanted to go to a notary and have it done there. So I said, okay, fine. We'll go to a notary. And when I tried contacting her in order to set up a time and date to go, she said, no, I'm busy. I'm busy. I don't have time for this. And I waited for a response. Never got anything.
Okay. So you did agree to pay $900 in payments. Oh, that was a long time getting there. Now, you have his waterbed?
I have...
Just answer my question. You have his waterbed?
Yes, I still have the waterbed and the computer.
Good. And what about the rollerblades?
I never saw any rollerblades. He never told me he wanted the rollerblades. He just said the waterbed and the computer.
Now, when do you want to go and pick them up?
I'd be willing to go pick them up at any time.
Fine. 5 days from today, you can go in the company of a peace officer. I will prepare an order that you may pick up your waterbed and your computer. That takes care of your counterclaim.
That wasn't the only stuff on his counterclaim.
I didn't ask you a thing. It's the only thing that I see on his counterclaim. His waterbed and his computer. She does not have his rollerblades. And as far as the plaintiff's claim is concerned, the defendant finally acknowledges that he owed the plaintiff $900. He was in agreement to make payments on that amount to her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. Thank you very much.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Trong video hôm nay thì mình sẽ giải đáp cho các bạn câu hỏi có nên đi đơn hàng đóng gói công nghiệp hay không. Và đơn hàng đóng gói công nghiệp là một đơn hàng tốt. Đơn hàng này thì sẽ có mức lương cao hơn so với các thị trường chung. Và ngoài ra thì nhóm ngành đơn hàng này thì có rất nhiều việc để các thực tập sinh của chúng ta có thể đăng ký để làm thêm giờ. Ngoài ra thì chi phí để lao động tham gia đơn hàng này thấp hơn và tỷ lệ hủy đơn của cái nhóm ngành hàng này thì gần như là không có. Ngoài ra thì người lao động còn được làm việc trong một môi trường chủ yếu ở trong xưởng nên chúng ta sẽ rất là an toàn, không bị ảnh hưởng bởi thời tiết xấu trong suốt quá trình làm việc. Và mục đích đi xuất khẩu lao động của các bạn là chúng ta sẽ dùng để có mức thu nhập tốt hơn và để dành được nhiều tiền tiết kiệm mang về cho gia đình hơn. Thì mình nghĩ đơn hàng này chính là một sự lựa chọn đúng đắn, bởi khối lượng công việc của đơn hàng này rất là dồi dào nên các bạn sẽ thoải mái tăng ca, giúp chúng ta có thể gia tăng thu nhập. Và đôi khi có hơi vất vả bởi các thực tập sinh phải làm việc trong một khoảng thời gian dài mà không được nghỉ ngơi. Thế nhưng thì bù lại các bạn sẽ nhận được một khoản thu nhập hoàn toàn xứng đáng với những gì công sức mà các bạn đã bỏ ra các bạn nhé. Vậy là trong video hôm nay thì mình đã đưa ra cho các bạn những lý do để chúng ta có thể lựa chọn nhóm ngành nghề đơn hàng đóng gói công nghiệp khi chúng ta có dự định đi xuất khẩu lao động tại Nhật Bản các bạn nhé. Và các bạn muốn biết thêm các thông tin về xuất khẩu lao động của các thị trường khác cũng như là các nhóm ngành nghề khi chúng ta đi xuất khẩu lao động thì các bạn hãy đón xem các video của mình nhé. Và cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi video của mình. Hẹn gặp các bạn trong những video lần sau. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại.